Oi, oi! It is time for another Cheltenham Festival anti-post bet. I should do better. I should remember the numbers more. I think this is number 6 that I've put up on the channel. It's whatever number it is, right? It's another bet. I'm going to try and probably keep this one a little bit shorter because I don't think too much really needs to be said. Lots of stuff's been coming out and going out on the channel at the moment. Running and Racing wasn't on last night for those of you that like watching that. It is Thursday. We're going to go live. I had some other commitments last night, which is all good. Me and Jamie will be back Thursday. We're going to do a live. So if you guys have got questions, it's going to be a viewers participation episode. Make sure you are in tune for that. 7:30, we're probably going to go live Thursday. So you can ask me questions about this or any thoughts and stuff. I've obviously put the AntePost insight video up yesterday, so that's well worth a look. And I did allude to who this bet probably will be. So let's crack on with it. Chapeau de Soleil for the Albert Bartlett at 33-1. For me, has to have a nibble. Now, he's a horse that was in my horses to follow list. I did a 10 to follow for Gigi at the start of the season. I feel like, in fairness, right, good chance to little recap on there. They're reasonable, right? I know it's as time goes on, like Lucia maybe hasn't stamped out things as we're going, but we're going to get a handicap bet on her at some point. I did put her up for the mares as well as a bet. You'd have seen that. Tiapu was mentioned in there, the fact that if he does go and beat Impere Pass, which wasn't out the realms of possibility, he did do that on Sunday, will be favourite. People will be questioning why he wasn't on there. Again, another Cheltenham Festival anti-post bet that I put up. Chianti Classico at the start of the season, I talked about him as an ultimate horse. I think a few people are starting to say the same thing now. Hometown Boy for Stuart Edmonds is another horse. He will be winning a race fairly soon. Aintree could be the plan for him. Chapeau de Soleil falls in there. I'm putting him up for the Albert Bartlett now. Firefox was mentioned. Of course, he went and took the scalp of Ballyburn. Favori de Champdou, I put in my horses to follow as well. Of course, won the good chase the last day, beaten Florin Porter, now potentially favourite for a national hunt chase. Like, these were here to be seen. Now, Manella Kakuna, my bet I put up last week, wasn't seen, but the form from Classic Getaway somehow boosts that a bit. Another horse that was in these 10 to follow. The last of them, not the last one, the penultimate that was in there was Florida Dreams for Nicky Richards that won the Aintree bumper. Maybe hasn't gone to plan so far, but I do think this horse needs to step up in trips, so we'll not lose faith with him. He might be one for April time. And Slade Still for Henry de Bromhead, I put him down as a horse as well. He is due over 2 mile 4 in the Navan Novice Hurdle this weekend. Whether he runs or not, I don't know. But he's already won this season. He looks impressive. He's on plenty of people's radars. So if you haven't already, go and see that column. Horses to follow. I've told you all of them there anyway. I feel like this is a good sign that I was in the right ballpark with multiple horses rather than just being guessy. So what am I doing? I'm not just saying it to fatten my head a little bit. I'm doing it to give you guys some confidence because I know it's regular viewers that watch this, but it might be some newbies too. If you are a newbie, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like the video. Comment down below if you disagree or you fancy anything. But anyway, 3 minutes in, I've told you the selection. He's a 33-1 poke, which I think is juicy. We don't know his trip completely to be confirmed, right? But what we do know is he was a good bumper horse, even though he didn't win a bumper. He was beaten a couple of lengths by Better Days Ahead, who's been out and won a couple of times since this season. He reversed that form with him at Cheltenham. He was one-time favourite for the champion bumper, Chapeau de Soleil. Now, he's similarly like to a Fernie Hollow when he was making his bumper debuts. Looks a little bit of a head case, right? Not necessarily so straightforward, but he switched off nicely at Cheltenham in the Cheltenham Festival. I think he was like staying on nicely in that race. However, he wasn't going to be able to stay on at the same pace as maybe like the first 3 home. And I think they do look like quicker horses. But he stayed on the same sort of pace as the 4th, 5th and the 6th. He was just caught a bit further back. He's got stamina in the family. He's bred, he's got back on the line in the family, who I think was 3rd in a national hunt chase. Like, he wants a proper trip. Now, the race that he's entered in on Thursday in Clonmel, 2 mile 3 furlongs. It's a race where it is IHNS, I think it is. So it's the amateur jockeys, like point-to-point jockeys that will ride in here. So Patrick will be on him, but it's a conditions race, right? So if you've won any race under rules, you carry an £8 penalty. The fact he hasn't won a bumper is probably the main reason why Willie's shoved him in here, because he gets £8 from a couple of horses in here. Looks a pretty trash race, to be honest with you. He should be dotting up. But it's also impertinent to announce, impertinent, that's not even a word. It's also important. Well, I was going to say pertinent and then I've merged the two. To mention, right, Baddy Casey in 2012, Rich Reekie owned, same as Chapeau de Soleil, was running this race and he was a leading fancy of the Albert Bartlett before he was taken out. A non-runner like very close to the day. At Fisher's Cross won that year. It's a route that they've used for 3 mile hurdlers. Last year they ran Sir Argus, I think it was, who fell in the race but was travelling really well. Then they stepped him up in trip. I think this screams out that Chapeau de Soleil's starting here and will be a boat, right? I showed about that pace, right? He's got the form to stand up with 2 mile-ish quality. Like, we know he's a quality horse. He hasn't won the races at the bumpers, but he will be a dour stayer. So what I mean by bringing that sort of stuff up is, I know the Ballymore and the Albert Bartlett are the closest two in distance for the novice hurdles, but you need speed to win the Ballymore and the Supreme. And while Chapeau de Soleil doesn't necessarily lack speed, he's just not as fast as we saw in the bumper between that first, second and third in the finishing straight. So the stamina is where he's going to come to his fore, but he's got enough ability to be there or thereabouts with some real good horses. Go back and watch that bumper run, because it was much more eye-taking than I think people would have given credit for. He was a forgotten horse by the time it came to the festival. He's still a forgotten horse now. When he romps home on Thursday, which he will do, he's going to settle, he's going to get himself sorted. He's going to be on everyone's radar, right? And I know the Albert Bartlett's one that you can get stuck into nearer and nearer the time, but he's going to pick up race for the season. He is just going to contract throughout. 33s at the moment, I think it's more than juicy. There may be a little bit more on the exchanges you can get, but I think he's definitely an Albert Bartlett horse if he progresses into that top tier hurdler, which I think he will do. I think the 33s is juicy. I'd be happy to go as low as 20s for this type of horse. But again, with it being an Albert Bartlett, we do get a little bit more about him. Now, at the beginning of the season, Willie Mullins does his Sporting Life Stable Tour. There was no mention of Chapeau de Soleil in there. Once Willie Mullins did his Racing Post column, I will tell you what he said about the horse. And the fact that he was mentioned was important to me to get him in my Horses to Follow column, right? I don't want to put up a horse that's not going to be seen. We've always thought he was a lovely type, and I know he was short enough in the market for the Champion bumper before he's made his debut for us at Fairyhouse. Things didn't really go according to plan for him last season. Did all of that and then still ran well in the bumper. But we're still holding out hope he can fulfill our expectations of him. His work is very good, and he might just need hurdles to help cool him down a bit. This horse wins the Albert Bartlett, 33s, gets stuck in. I mean, I will put my bet up on here. I've had £25 to win. So you'd have seen varying stakes with me in here. Does mean that there's £850 worth of return. This could be a horse that you think, oh, maybe you want to take a bit more of a swing at to take some more, I guess, advantage of the big prices. But I'm not here to be greedy because it's a big price. I think £25 is the stake that it needs to be. So I'm happy with where I'm at with it. Like I said, I'd back him at 20s, and I would still back him for £25 at 20s. I know some people would say the bigger the odds, the bigger the bet. Not the way that I'm doing things on here. It's normally 25 or a 50 or a ton. So he's not £50 worth, although I wouldn't probably be bothered if I did have that much on. But again, there are risks attached, right? We've got to see what he does. And the Albert Bartlett will be the type of race where we probably want to get a few on our side. But by taking him, he's a 3% chance at the moment, right? There is no way this horse doesn't have more than a 3% chance to win an Albert Bartlett. There are lots of horses in that market that I don't think will go there. So it's a fairly strong, I guess, 33-1 selection from Chapeau de Soleil. Yes, there are risks attached. Yes, we're a little bit punty, but I do fully expect him to shit home on Thursday. Excuse the French. If he doesn't, then obviously maybe we've missed a little bit there and it could be a lesson learned. But with the bookmakers, right, Betfair, if you can get on, our 33s, they offer 100% cash out. Now, after he's been beaten, they probably won't. Bet365 will offer like 95%. And again, if he's beat, they probably won't. But he's not going to move up that much. You can probably get half your money back if he does go and get beat. So you're not risking the full amount, if you see what I mean. However, I do think he will win. I think he will shorten. I think he's a great bet, which is why I've done him. So Chapeau de Soleil in the Albert Bartlett is we think it's my 6th bet, but check out the thumbnail. Anyway, see you guys Thursday for the live Ranting and Racing. Hopefully, we'll get lots of participation. Be lucky.